Welcome to a sports betting podcast from pregame.com for October 29th, 2009. I'm your host, RJ Bell. I'm joined by Vegas runner, genuine professional bettor here in Vegas, Marco D'Angelo, 30 years in the business. This is segment 2 of 6, big game preview, college football, Texas, Oklahoma State. As usual, Vegas runner, give us the line report on this game.
Okay, this line opened up Texas -9 as a road favorite with the total 53.5. As of this morning, we're looking at anywhere between 9 and 8.5 with the total down to 51. So there's some money on the under. And as far as the side, back and forth from what I'm hearing.
Okay, so we do an official pick each of us on one of the games. You have an official free pick on this game?
Yes, I do.
First up, Marco, tell us the one factor a sports bettor better not ignore in this game.
Texas defense. This year, it's been all Texas with the defense. It's not the offense that's got the limelight. It's the defense, and if they hold Oklahoma State in check, Texas wins this game.
And covers.
And covers.
All right, so you see the key matchup to be, all right, so what we're looking for are answers. We're not looking for the key question as much as what's the key answer. So is this Texas defense as good as they appear to be?
They've only allowed one team this year to score more than 20 points, and that was Texas Tech.
24.
And they've shut every offense down. They held Oklahoma in check. Granted, Oklahoma lost Bradford in the first series, but the backup had been playing all year, so not that big of a step down. This team's for real. Oklahoma.
Let me jump in a second. So just to think about Oklahoma for a second, though that's not the feature here, you think that their quarterback is almost as good as Bradford?
He's not as good as Bradford, obviously, but making the jump when he came back into the game, he had already played several games this year.
So he wasn't as bad as a typical backup, but he's not a Heisman Trophy winner.
Right, exactly. You don't have the big drop-off, that you would have had normally if that would have been the first game that Bradford got injured.
All right, Vegas runner, give us your pick and tell us why.
Okay, I'm going to lay the 9 points with Texas here. I've been staying in the Big 12. It's been good to me, and I'm going to pick the Big 12 again. I like Texas here. Bottom line, Marco hit it on the nose when he said defense. But to dig a little deeper, both of these teams are excellent against the run. Texas allows only 41 yards a game, and Oklahoma State allows only 99. So neither of these offenses are going to have a lot of success running. It's going to come down to who passes better, and that's where Texas and Colt McCoy have the huge edge. When you look at the defense of Oklahoma State, they're ranked 106th in the NCAA against the pass. So I think they're going to have a field day, Texas passing the ball. That's going to be the difference. And this team's only allowing 13 points a game defensively. And if they make this team one-dimensional and force Oklahoma State to only be able to pass, it's going to be an easy afternoon for them.
Now, one of the big conversations that the sports bettors are having is all the big favorites in the NFL that are covering. And, 14 and a half, whatever, they're winning by 35. Would you say that the college lines are going to be a little bit inflated, and either you guys can jump in and answer, because the squares who have been laying the road wood, like a team like Texas, have been getting affirmed by cashing, and all of a sudden, it's not so scary to lay over a touchdown on a road team in the Big 12.
I agree, and that we see that same trend happen in baseball when teams have that offense and they're crushing, and people are betting the run line every day. They're not afraid of it. When that year the Yankees were covering every run line. Once you see a team do that, you're no longer afraid. And like you said, they're seeing NFL teams covering 14-point road favorites. All of a sudden, you get confident. You see a powerful team,
so if that's true, then we would assume laying the big numbers in college, you're going to be paying a little premium.
I agree with your theory and principle, but honestly, in college football, unlike in the NFL, I think in the NFL there's more squares in action. Not everybody bets
more in the NFL.
More in the NFL.
True.
Okay, in college football, I think you've got more people that buy into the home underdog theory because of the college atmosphere, the bigger stadiums. You don't have 80,000 seat stadiums and 100,000 seat stadiums generally in the NFL. Most of them are 60, 65,000. College football is a different animal.
It's an interesting point. We've been talking about for over a year that the NFL home field is being decreased the home field advantage in the last few years, and some of the speculation is the more corporate stadiums and the ticket prices, and you don't have the rabid fans as much, except maybe in a few stadiums. Even Pittsburgh, which I follow the Steelers very closely, that home field just doesn't feel. They certainly have a great record at home. So there's other factors. That crowd affects that game less than they did, than 10 years ago at Three Rivers, I would say.
Well, one of the other reasons is there's more new stadiums in the NFL, and more of the newer style stadiums are not enclosed. They're not complete ovals. Like if you remember Three River Stadium, Heinz Field has an open end. You're losing.
So whatever the reason
you're losing sound.
All right, fair enough. And I think that in combination with who's there, when it's $1,000 a ticket or whatever, it's different than when it's the guy with the steel hat that you see in the old NFL
with the beer
cans coming down. Yeah.
All right. Now, you quote each week a lot the odds makers poll. So the Vegas odds makers put out a poll, and
Correct.
It's always interesting to say, well, what's the comparison between the AP, which is what the public believes for the most part, public perception, versus what the odds makers believe, who are professionals. And actually in pregame forums, and you can just go there directly at pregameforums.com, I do a thread every Saturday that we have a formula. We compare the odds makers poll against the AP, and it's a sort of a complicated formula, but then we find the teams the odds makers like and the teams they don't, and play on and make a pick on the teams they like against the teams they don't, and it's been a really good record, so you might want to check that out, where the odds makers have been right. Now, they have Texas, if I'm not mistaken, 3.
Yes. The odds makers have them 2.
Oh, 2.
And yeah, and USA Today and AP has them 3.
All right.
So it's
so they're
same.
saying that Texas is better than Alabama. They're saying Texas is better than USC, which the odds makers love USC. So my question is, when you look at their performances here, Texas, what have they done? It seems like every week people are like, man, this Texas team isn't what we thought they were. What have they done in order for us to think they're the second best team in the country?
The reason for that is because they're 2-4 ATS, 2-4-1, and no one's cashed with this team. And I think the reason for that is...
The reason for what? That would make the public sour on the team.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the odds makers, because they just use their ratings, have put Texas out there too high of a favorite early on in the season. I thought coming into the season,
so you're saying they were more well-regarded in week 1 and 2 than they are now, Texas?
Yeah, coming in. I think so.
But they're still the second best team in the country.
Right now, according to the odds makers. Yeah.
So they're still very highly regarded.
Yeah, at 7-0, they're going to be.
Mm-hmm. So you look at this team right now, and how is Texas compared to what you expected from them? I mean, if it's Texas, Florida, what do you make the line on a neutral?
On a neutral field, I'd make Florida 4.
Okay.
Max.
So for you, is
Max.
this more of a play on Texas or against Oklahoma?
This is against Oklahoma, who is ranked 13th. Oklahoma State, excuse me, who's ranked 13th in the AP and USA Today, 15th by the odds makers, and I think the odds makers incorrect too. I don't think this Oklahoma State team is as good as everyone believes. They're 6-1, and that's why they're getting this respect. But when you look at them statistically, they're just not that strong. Like I said, they're 106th against the pass, and they're 57th in defense, total defense. This team just isn't as good as they're being perceived.
30 seconds. Any closing thoughts?
One point that I'll make, and if you want to go to the odds maker and see if he's trying to send you to a side here, they believe this Texas defense is for real. The last 2 years, the over-under in this matchup, which both were shootouts, 66.5 and 62. And they come out with this game at 51.5 right now. They think this defense is for real on Texas.
All right, good point. All right, good stuff. Now, next up, we're going to be doing segment number 3, a preview of USC Oregon. And remember, you can get all of our videos at pregame.tv, or if you want to download and listen, just go to iTunes and search for pregame.com.